Hey everybody, welcome back to the Thinking Crypto channel. I hope you're doing well. We are closely approaching 50,000 subscribers, so please hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment below, and hit the subscribe button if you're new here. It helps support the channel and it doesn't cost you anything. Guys, I want to talk about Bitcoin's growth and the future potential growth we may see, hitting prices such as $100,000, even eventually going to $1 million. And of course, I want to back this up with facts. I just don't want to throw numbers at you, right? We want to be smart about this. We don't want to be super hype. What are the facts? What are the catalysts that are going to drive the price up? And as you can see here, our previous all-time high was near 19,800 or near 20,000, I should say. And this was in 2017, right? And now we find ourselves after going through a bear market. We had a mini speculative bubble in 2019. We bottomed out and now we're working our way back up and we are looking to surpass the old all-time high. According to the Bitcoin stock to flow model, we are headed to $100,000. So we're going to talk a bit about the supply and demand economics here. But remember, guys, this is so important because people forget this. In bull markets, there will be corrections. Look at these little peaks and valleys here. Corrections on the way up, right? As the price kept going up, corrections. But if you didn't understand the market cycle or didn't take profits along the way up, or you got scared and ran away, you missed out on, of course, the big all-time highs. And we're seeing kind of those little mini peaks and valleys here as we work our way up to new all-time highs. So the mini cycle that we're in right now could be a mini peak and valley here, right? On the way to $100,000. So keep that in mind, just as these points here of 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 were the mini peaks and valleys on the way up to 20,000. So you have to make sure you understand the market cycles both from a micro and macro level. Now, I don't like looking at charts on a weekly and daily standpoint. I look at things macro level. And one of the things that are going to drive Bitcoin's prices higher or price higher is the supply and demand economics. You have the halving that takes place every 4 years. So we had one take place in May of this year, and the supply gets cut in half. It's now only 900 Bitcoin being mined and put out, from a daily standpoint. So keep that in mind. The supply gets cut in half and there's record-breaking demand. So you have a natural deflationary and supply and economic hit on Bitcoin, which drives its value up. But what we're seeing, guys, Bitcoin being a store of value and digital gold, a store of value and a hedge against the inflation and excessive money printing from central banks, people are the demand is really going up, right? And I'll give an example. Michael Saylor, who is the CEO of MicroStrategy, which recently put hundreds of millions of dollars into Bitcoin of their cash reserves to preserve the value. He went on CNBC and schooled some of the people there because they were trying to challenge him, almost asking him, hey, are you a Bitcoin hedge fund now or are you still a company? It's like, are you for real? The man has a company that is sitting on a large amount of cash and they want to preserve that wealth. They want to preserve the value of it, not have it deflate over time sitting in a bank account. So he tries to explain it to them. But what he said, guys, he said Google and Apple are going to follow what he did. Let me play it for you.
Let's bring in Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy. Michael, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me.
We had you on because you're the CEO of a software company who decided to invest your cash into Bitcoin. And I'm wondering how you came about that decision. Were you thinking we've got a lot of cash because our business generates a lot of cash? So, could it be treasuries or money market, straight up cash or Bitcoin? I mean, what was your thought process?
Well, the story here is due to the rapid expansion of the monetary supply by the central banks, the cost of capital has tripled from 5% to 15% over the past year. And if we look out over the next 4 years, bond coupons and EPS growth rates are going to need to exceed that hurdle in order to preserve wealth. We had 500 million worth of cash, but we knew we were going to generate another 500 million worth of cash. And we realized that if we held it in cash, it was going to debase by 10, 15% a year. And I didn't want to lose half of it. So what isn't so well understood is the BTC. Bitcoin is the best safe haven treasury reserve asset in the world right now. And it's engineered to be superior to gold in all aspects. So That being the case, a lot of people understand the asset story of Bitcoin. It's up 100% annually each year for the past decade, more or less. What they don't understand is that Bitcoin's a monetary network. And as a monetary network, it's capable of storing and channeling energy over time without power loss. So we got really excited about this idea, and we saw it as a solution for the store of value problem, not just for the $300 trillion of capital in the world, but for the 7.5 billion people on the planet. And so that's pretty compelling.
Sorry to interrupt, Michael, but cash on a balance sheet and wanting to preserve the power of that cash is one thing. Investing it in something that's speculative is another. I mean, are you a software company or are you a Bitcoin hedge fund at this point? I mean, why bother with the software part of the business if your belief truly is that Bitcoin is going to go up 100% every year, going forward?
Well, first of all, we do have a software company generating cash, but if we simply swept the cash into fiat currency and allowed it to base at 15% a year, we'd be losing as much on the balance sheet as we generated from the P&L. So that didn't make sense. On the other hand, the traditional concerns about Bitcoin have been that it might be hacked, it might be copied, it might be banned. And after a decade, it hasn't been hacked. No one's managed to copy it. It's not going to be banned. So although people look at it as being volatile, it's volatile maybe in the first decade. The next decade going forward, it doesn't look like it's going to be that volatile. It actually looks like it's emerging as the primary Treasury Reserve asset for people that are looking for some way to avoid the great monetary inflation.
How do you view the size of your Bitcoin position relative to the size of your business? And is there a point at which, even just for portfolio management purposes, you trim your Bitcoin position in order to be conservative? I mean, your enterprise value is $2.4 billion or so. I'm not sure what your Bitcoin position is. You had initially invested $400 million or so back in August, and that position's got to be enormous by now.
Well, look, we love the enterprise business intelligence business, and we want to be in it, but we don't want to decapitalize the company by drawing our treasury to zero, and we don't want to allow our treasury to be debased by 10 or 20% a year either. So we had to do something. I think that as investors start to understand the Bitcoin story, they're going to migrate their capital on the Bitcoin network, and that's going to create a virtuous cycle of adoption, followed by price appreciation, followed by value accretion, followed by technology integration from companies like, you see Square and PayPal. It'll be Apple and Google shortly. That's going to drive more adoption.
Boom. It's going to be Apple and Google shortly. And he just schooled this CNBC host who's trying to be almost, she's trying to play down the inflation, right? They don't want to talk about that and what's been happening in the stock market. Let's be honest. This year, the economy has been shut down due to the pandemic. Government shutting down stuff. People haven't been spending as much money. Yet the stock market's been pumping. That's not based on the reality of the economy and the markets. It's based on the central banks pumping it up by printing money, right? Michael Saylor, as a company CEO, he's a smart guy. He understands this. And he's dropping like knowledge bombs here on these people, but they're trying to play it down, like trying to discredit what he did. Now, he didn't put his entire cash reserves, company cash reserves into Bitcoin. He put some of it, but his goal is to preserve the value of that wealth. And it's also really great for his shareholders, right? So, man, did he drop some bombs there? And he talked about, people are going to put more money into this. A lot of companies going to put their cash reserves. And of course, he named Google and Apple. And he said that's going to drive the price up. That's going to drive adoption. So, I mean, this guy's put his money where his mouth is. And this is bullish. And let me give you an idea of what type of money Apple and Google are sitting on. So, here, Google has $117 billion in liquid reserves compared to Apple's $102 billion. My goodness. Guys, I'm not saying we're going to get all that money, but if we get a percentage, right? Let's say they even just put $1 billion each. Wow. MicroStrategy just put like a few $100 million. So this is bullish as hell, and people don't understand the trend and all these green flags that were put up. MicroStrategy put up the green flag for more companies to do this. The same way Paul Tudor Jones put up the green flag for other hedge fund managers to put their money into Bitcoin and crypto. So that's why $100,000 Bitcoin is not far-fetched, even $1 million Bitcoin price. I'm not saying next year, I'm not saying next month or whatever, right? $1 million certainly within the next 5 to 6 years. I could see that. Now, is that a certainty? No. Right? We have to see how things play out, but there's a high probability if things continue this way. Companies put their money into Bitcoin and crypto, and right now, the trend is that way. More companies are doing it. I'm actually going to be interviewing a couple companies who've been putting their money into their cash reserves into Bitcoin. So stay tuned for those interviews. But Michael Saylor is on point here, guys. He's on point. He's schooling the CNBC host, telling her, look, why would I have my cash just sitting there being debased? I want to preserve the wealth. And they're trying to dodge that. They don't want to talk about the inflation, the money printing, and what's happening. So very, very interesting, guys. And that's why I'm a believer in the stock to flow model from Plan B. We're talking about the digital scarcity, right? The supply and demand economics. And the Bitcoin is deflationary, guys. It's only going to get harder to mine Bitcoin, and each halving is going to cut the supply down. So these institutional players are grabbing up as much as they can, and things are on track. And a lot of macro investors like Dan Moorhead, this is a chart that he put out from Pantera Capital. I've interviewed him, of course. He's expecting $115,000 price point next year for Bitcoin. So we are seeing the data does not lie. The data does not lie, guys. And it is telling the story here. And that's what a lot of these guys are looking at. And when you look at things like this man going on TV talking about it, more companies are going to do it. And in addition, it's really going to help have the masses be more knowledgeable about Bitcoin. And you can see another mass FOMO coming up. We've been seeing a lot of billionaires and millionaires going on TV lately, even PayPal CEO talking about Bitcoin and what they're doing around crypto. So that's why I am so bullish on Bitcoin. That is why I'm expecting, guys, new all-time highs. And this 2017 all-time high here will become a small blip on the chart, almost like what this is right here. Yeah, believe it. You have to look at it macro level. People look at it very short term, but they're like, oh, next month? Oh, within the next 6 months? No, macro level. We're talking years now, right? Higher prices are coming, so that's why you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan, and the data does not lie here. Now, obviously, don't put your life savings into this. Be smart, right? Dollar cost average. Only put in what you can afford to lose. You can talk to a financial advisor, whatever it may be. But guys, we've seen the cycles. We've seen the cycles: bull, bear, and accumulation phase. We are out of the accumulation phase, and now we are in the bull market. So let's see where things take us. But I'm certainly hoping the stock to flow model takes us to that $100,000 price point next year. So guys, what do you think about this news? Do you see Apple and Google on the horizon putting some of their cash reserves into Bitcoin? And do you see $100,000 Bitcoin price next year? Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button, and I'll talk to you guys later.